Praise God, church. I think you've been told my name is Margaret, or Mrs. Mwangi. And I was telling my leader that I'm a testimony myself. So I may not be giving you a testimony of yesterday or today, because every day of my life has been a testimony. And I want to speak especially to the women who are praying for their family, that God is able to save. And I'm a testimony to that, because I think I was the most difficult child for my parents and for my father and mother, who are born-again Christians, but they got born again when I was just going to Form 1. And I didn't have the opportunity, because of being in a boarding school, to hear them preach in that village every day. Yet my father is known to have been the pioneer of Pentecostalism in our general area. And I fought a lot with that gospel. A lot. And I would even go to crusades. I don't know why I ended up there. I was remembering one this morning when T.L. Osborne came to a crusade in Nyeri. I happened to be an adult teaching in Nyeri. And I went to that crusade to see the lies that were being propagated. And I looked for the most crippled person to see whether they are healed. And I remember this boy, as though it was yesterday, whose parents had him drop the crutches as the man of God prayed for him. And I positioned myself to see whether he would be healed. And at the end of the day, as that child was walking without crutches, but with a bit of struggle, I rebuked the mother. Return the crutches to him. Why are you harassing the little one? So when I tell you God can save, he can save you from unbelief and from anything. So if you're a parent who is trusting God for your children, I'm a testimony. Because today I'm saved because I had very strong praying parents. And it wasn't overnight. Don't expect it to be overnight. Mine was not overnight. I would go home as an adult. Dad used to wake up at 3 o'clock to pray. At one time I told him, Dad, if that's the time you wake up in this house, I'll stop coming home. At any time I went home, Dad was not praying. But I discovered when I got born again that he would not pray at 3 when I'm in the house, but he continued praying at 3 o'clock. Am I speaking to somebody? So if you think it's too hard for your children to get saved, they can if you continue. And when I say my whole life, even later on when I came to Nairobi, I went to crusades. And I had a critical mind. Why I went to them, I don't know. Maybe because I loved the music. And I was remembering once, because I got born again as an adult, as Reverend Kwame was preaching here the other day. I remembered going to Crisco Church. I went to many churches. And when the preacher would preach against the church that I was in, I would say, wait, Pentecostalism, how many years are you old? Ebu tugoje mufike million years since you are founded to muone. That's the kind of person I was. But I'm here today to say God saves. And the day I got saved, because I had praying people, I'll still remember it was in Crisco Church. I was there accidentally. That morning I was going home, I met a friend in a matatu who was going to Crisco Church. We went talking about our own things. Finally, I was in church. And when the man of God preached, he preached about me. There was no altar call that day. Everybody left. I went forward to ask, can I be prayed for? The prayers of my parents won salvation for me. I hope if you are praying for the salvation of your children, you have hope. It may not happen overnight, but God saves. I'm a testimony to that. Then maybe I might take long, because when I was asked to give this testimony, there are other things that burned within me. When I got saved, war began in my house. I was already a married person. It wasn't acceptable. I had war every Sunday. And there's a time I stopped going to church for 5 years. But thank God for a place of work that I worked in that had strong fellowship that sustained me. But today, and some people here are witness to that, I think I can count 4 times now. Although my husband is not saved, he's walked into this church and he has worshipped with us. He who was beating me every Sunday for wanting to go to a Pentecostal church, today will drop me in church, and the last few Sundays, he has also come to church. So I want to speak to them that have family battles. Be patient. God is at work. And in time, he'll reveal himself. Finally, as I speak, they'll believe because they'll see the fruit of your prayer and your Christianity. Because if my husband walks here today, he hasn't told me, but it's because he's a walking miracle. A walking miracle because I've prayed for him. In 2017, mine could be a book. Pastor, allow me. Mine is testimony for a book. In 2017, that man was given 5 years to live. He was given 5. When the doctors called me privately, they told me this one can go anytime. And the disease we have diagnosed has no treatment. Don't go to America, don't go to India, because you'll not get help. And I remember standing before God and telling him, just as Hezekiah prayed to you, and you gave him an extra, I had not read the Bible properly. I prayed an extra 10 years, but it was 15. I prayed, give my husband 10 more years. When 10 years were over, I told him, I said Hezekiah's. 15 years. I think it's now 18 years. And I've told God, I prayed for a long life. I was ignorant. I'm praying for a long life. So there are many testimonies I could give here, maybe because of my age. I want to encourage you that even if you have a sick person, God can turn around. Amen. When somebody sees the medical records of my husband, they ask, huyu anatembea? Because he has many conditions. And I've seen especially the last 2 years, and by the way, he suffered a second heart attack last November. And is up and about. God is faithful. Keep on there. So I was saying, they'll get saved and they'll turn around to respect the God you worship because of what they are seeing in your life, isn't it? Anytime we've been given a negative prescription by the doctors, have said, God is bigger than the doctor. And God has remained faithful. For anybody struggling in marriage, I'm telling you, wait on God. There were many times I said, God, I'm born again. Why must the righteous suffer? And I remember once it being answered to me, the righteous you suffer, just like they are righteous. But the difference is God works with them through it. So if you're going through a season like that, encourage yourself that God is working it with you, and soon you'll have your deliverance and your victory, because God is a God of victory. You have a preacher today. I do not want to share more. For the young people here, because I think I saw some over 18, below 25. For you to believe without testing God like I did. Because I've given you my testimony. I began with unbelief, but this God, your mothers, your uncles, your aunties, the pastors are forcing on you is a real God who can move mountains in your life. God bless you.